Good morning, I'm Barratt. I've got another Lockdown 2021 for you. I've called this The Eyes of the Lord. I want to ask you a question. How does God gather information about this earth and the people that inhabit it? I'll look at this in a minute, but I believe God keeps records of all that goes on this planet. And he writes them in books, I believe. Let me read you some scriptures to try and prove this to you. Malachi chapter 3 verse 16. Then they that feared the Lord spake often one to another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord and thought upon his name. So that means that God has a book to remind him, a book of remembrance, to remind him those that fear the Lord. I don't think this is an allegory and an illustration. I believe God keeps records. Exodus 32:32, when Israel had sinned and Moses was pleading for God to not destroy them and then to forgive the sins, he says this, Yet now, Lord, if you'll forgive their sins, but if not, blot me out of the book which you have written. Surely that's the book of life, written from the foundation of the world. Moses put his salvation on the Lord and said, I know you've got a book and my name's in it. I'm one of your children. Blot me out of the book. Damn me. Blot me out of the book that you've written. Well, the book of Revelation talks about it. Revelation 13:8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. The book of life. Surely that's the one that Moses was talking about. Revelation 17:8. The beast that you saw was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names were not written in the book of life written from the foundation of the world. The book of life is the record of all those who have accepted Christ, who have eternal life. David prophesied of Jesus and he said this, Then said I, Lo, I come. In the volume of the book it is written of me. What book was he talking about? In the volume of the book. It must have been written. Everything that was going to happen, all the prophecy, all the things that were going to happen to Jesus, and every one of us are written in a book. I believe God keeps records of every single detail of our lives. I believe there's a book of our DNA that God wrote before the creation of the world. Don't forget we were chosen in him before the foundation of the world. So God knew us whom he foreknew. How did he know us? Because he'd written our DNA in a book. The string of DNA, we know now it's a book, the book of life. Well, David seemed to have revelation on it all those years ago, and he didn't know about DNA. He says this, Psalm 139, verse 15 and 16. My substance was not hid from you when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. We were made from the dust. Our DNA was already there. He didn't say in the womb, he said in the dust of the earth. Your eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in your book all my members were written. That's the DNA, surely, which in continuous were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. Well, I believe God's got many, many books and that are written, and he's still writing them. And I believe they'll be produced at the great white throne judgment. Let me read what Daniel says, Daniel 7 verse 10. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000, that's 100 million, stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books, plural, were opened. Not the book of life, that's who are saved. This is the books that are written. And we find out more in Revelation 20 verse 20. And I saw the dead. Revelation 20 verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. So there's books that are open and there's the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. So God has written books about your works, your life, your habits, everything about you. Wow. So these books must have records of all the men who've ever lived and their deeds. Listen what Jesus says, Matthew 12 verse 36. I say unto you, every idle word, every wasted, useless word, you will have to give an account for in the day of judgment. Wow, that's scary. Every wasted word. That's not a swear word. That's not blasphemy. Every wasted word, every idle word, every useless word, you'll have to give an account for. Be holy in all manner of conversation, the Bible says. This is scary stuff. So God must record all our conversations if we're going to be judged for every idle word. Well, we do it now. Technology has advanced so much that Facebook records all your conversations. Your mobile phone tracks you. And all your conversations on your phone are recorded. It's a well-known fact now. Well, God's a general, and he has millions or billions of angels to send messages to us and take messages from us. Zechariah 4:10. I'm talking about the eyes of the Lord now that record things. For who hath despised the day of small things? For they shall rejoice and shall see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel. With those 7, they are the eyes of the Lord which run to and fro on the earth. The eyes of the Lord run to and fro on the earth. Well, technology can do that. There's millions and millions and millions and millions of security cameras. A camera is an eye. It's not a living eye, but it's a camera, it is a mechanical eye, and it records things. Just like the eyes of the Lord. There's millions of pieces of information of people. There must be so much information on me and you and everyone on the planet. You know, we hear God through an angel. I don't think I've ever heard God personally speak to me when I've thought, wow, God spoke to me. Surely it's via an angel. What's he got billions of messengers for? Angels are messengers to take messages from God to us and us to God, take our prayers up. It's the same with Satan. If you have a thought and you think, whoa, that's not me and that's not God, that's a thought from the devil. I don't think for 1 minute that Satan speaks personally to you. He's got a billion demons. They whisper in your ear and give you those thoughts. And so it is with God. The very revelation that Jesus had that came from God, it says Jesus sent it and signified it by his angel unto John. So John didn't hear Jesus speaking. It was via an angel. That's what Revelation said. It wasn't Jesus personally speaking. It was via an angel. And when we hear God, it's via an angel communication. And surely the billions of angels take messages to God. God said, Sodom and Gomorrah, I'll go down and see if what I've heard is true, if the city is as wicked as the information I've received. Why didn't God know? Because God's got billions of angels to do his messages, and they reported it was a wicked city. And God says, I'll go down and see if it's true. Well, God's omnipresent, of course. His presence covers all creation. But that doesn't mean that God is in millions of different places all at the same time. God is in heaven. David said, if I make my bed in hell, God's there. But we know God isn't in hell, but his presence permeates the whole universe. Why would he have billions of angels? Why would the eyes of the Lord run to and fro if God could see everything? Let me read some scriptures about the eyes of the Lord. 2 Chronicles 16:9. The eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth to show himself strong in behalf of those whose heart is perfect towards him. The cameras, the recording, the angels are doing it. Proverbs 15:3, the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. 1 Peter 3:12, for the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous. He's watching, and his ears are open unto their prayers. So we've not only got cameras, we've got recorders. God's recording all our messages, all our conversations. But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. Well, let me come to a close. This is a lockdown 21, so I want to challenge you. We're in the last of the last days. And Satan, who's the counterfeit, uses science and technology to counterfeit what God can do and what God's been doing throughout creation, keeping records and information on everyone on the planet. Not to judge us, but to trap us. Well, they know our preference on food, our clothes, our political bias, our religious beliefs, our vocabulary, our habits, our secret sins, and much, much more. They know about you, the one world system. It's all on record. It's only a counterfeit to what God can do. Well, this is a big subject, and I can't do it justice in a few minutes, but I hope I provoke your thoughts so you'll study the subject for yourself. I want you to know for sure that if you're not willing to stand up for what's coming on this earth, you'll be trapped by this information. And most, I believe, Christians will be subjected and take the mark of the beast and worship the statue because they're already compromised. Remember the fiery furnace? It's a good example. Those who wouldn't bow to the statue were very, very small, only a remnant. All the rest of the Jews bowed. So I think it's time to clean up our act, clean up your conversation, clean up your habits, because the eyes of the Lord are watching everything, and the angels are taking the messages to God, and it's recorded in a book. We've got to stop hiding behind grace and our church activities and start to live as we should do, because the days are coming where we'll have to face Christ at the judgment seat to account for every idle work, for the deeds done in our body, as Paul said. So the time's gone. I hope I've challenged you. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Monday for another vlog. God bless you.